Roads are the arteries through which the economy pulses. By linking producers to markets, workers to jobs, students to school, and the sick to hospitals, roads are vital to any development agenda. Any village, city, country, or continent looking to improve their economic conditions need accessible routes to make this happen. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah aimed for a united African front that could benefit enormously from each other in oneness, drawing inspiration from advanced science and technology to engage collaborations that would foster harmony, boost economies, and ultimately eradicate poverty. According to the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, growing continental commerce cooperation as well as flexible border and port agreements has necessitated the creation of a network that would allow access to inaccessible areas while reducing travel time. With the introduction of the most comprehensive global market in the continental free trade area across the African Union, the African continent has seen a 52% increase in trade to about $35 billion in 5 years, thanks to the easing of strict border controls and a reduction in the cost of tolls and duties. The continent is unwavering in its belief in a positive outcome. The apparent increase in trade and commercial operations has prompted a reasonable investment in the road and rail networks, as well as other critical infrastructures, in order to strengthen continental cooperation. The ambitious Trans-African Highway has been identified as a viable solution among others with significant power to push this cause despite the fact that it is still unfinished. The Trans-African Highway project encompasses the construction and operation of a network of roads and highways across Africa, known as the Trans-African Routes. This infrastructure, which was originally conceived in 1971, consists of a 56,683-kilometer corridor that serves 9 links and is being developed by the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, the African Development Bank, and the African Union, as well as a partnership with regional and international communities. Welcome back, new tourist. In this video, we'll describe the 56,683 kilometers Trans-African Highway project that will connect and boost Africa's economy. The 9 highway links have been sorted into a group of 6 major east-west corridors and 3 north-south routes, although a 4th linked north-south of the continent has been forged by boundaries of 2 eastern-west courses. Before we begin, do well to like the video and subscribe to our channel to get notified when we release new content. 1. Tripoli, Windhoek to Cape Town Highway, 10,808 kilometers. This route follows a latitudinal path from Tripoli, Libya to N'Djamena, Chad's capital and largest city. Then on to Kinshasa, Brazzaville, Windhoek, and eventually Cape Town, South Africa, which was initially omitted due to the project's planning during the apartheid era. It will serve as a backup to the Cairo-Cape Town Transnational Highway, connecting northern and southern Africa. This north-south highway spans 10,808 kilometers, but it requires modifications because it is the corridor with the most missing roads. Evidently, only national links across Libya, Cameroon, Angola, Namibia, and South Africa are significantly operational. 2. Lagos to Mombasa Highway, 10,270 kilometers. This transnational highway connects with the Trans-West African Highway in Lagos and runs all the way to Mombasa, Kenya's coastal city, along the Indian Ocean, forming the continent's longest west-east network at a total distance of 10,269 kilometers. This route connects the western and eastern parts of the continent, passing through Cameroon's capital, Lagos, Bangui, and the Central African Republic, as well as Uganda's Kampala and Kenya's Mombasa. At the moment, the transcontinental channel is not a viable route between west and east because the central section across the Democratic Republic of the Congo only has tracks that become navigable after heavy rain. Despite the fact that the highway is heavily used in Nigeria, Cameroon, Uganda, and Kenya, road engineers face significant challenges due to the presence of dense rainforest and the requirement for frequent river crossings due to the lack of easy alternatives. East-west trade is forced to travel by air or sea, resulting in severe restrictions. 3. Cairo to Gaborone to Cape Town Highway, 10,228 kilometers. This corridor runs the length of the African continent, beginning in Cairo in Egypt and continuing through Sudan's Khartoum, Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, Nairobi in Kenya, Zimbabwe's capital city, Harare, and finally ending in Cape Town, South Africa. It is a detour route from the northern part of the continent to South Africa. The Egypt-Sudan border can now be reached by road via the Kastelashe border post. The Ethiopian link is a tarred road, but it passes through mountainous terrain, making it dangerous to meander up north in Kenya. Nairobi's paved highway connects the Lagos-Mombasa Highway and documents. The Trans-African Highway No. 5 is also known as the Cairo-Gaborone Highway or the Cairo-Pretoria Highway. However, because the route passes through southeastern Botswana, this name should be avoided. 4. Cairo to Dakar Highway, 8,636 kilometers. The Cairo-Dakar Highway connects the Trans-African Highway 4, also known as the Dakar-Lagos Highway, to create an additional north-south pathway around the continent's western rim. It follows the North African Mediterranean coast from Dakar to Algiers to Rabat, then across Tunis, Tripoli, and finally Cairo. Despite the closed Algerian and Moroccan borders, the 8,636-kilometer road is now complete and operational. A few kilometers between Morocco's western coast and Mauritania have only desert tracks, despite the fact that the Nouadhibou-Nouakchott road was tarred in 2005. 5. Algiers to Lagos Highway, 4,504 kilometers. This corridor runs across Algiers from the Tamanrasset province and all the way to Lagos in the south. The Algiers to Lagos corridor is one of the continent's oldest, having been planned since the mid-1960s. Construction of segments of the road did not begin until the 1990s. The Trans-Sahara Highway is also one of the project's most complete highway networks, with only about 200 kilometers of unpaved desert track remaining. Despite the fact that border control was unyielding in its application, the central region, on the other hand, presents a challenge requiring strict measures and vehicle specifications to ensure safety in the face of a harsh desert environment and climate. 6. Dakar and N'Djamena Highway, 4,500 kilometers. The Trans-Sahelian Highway runs laterally along with 7 nations and 5 capitals in West and East Africa, with a common climate and ambience that is projected to reduce stringent border restrictions to foster trade and maintain the cultural harmony that has existed for centuries. The 4,500 kilometers highway extends from Dakar through Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Nigeria to the furthest northern point of Cameroon and ends within the western border of Chad's capital, N'Djamena. The structure has been substantially completed to about 80%, except for a few kilometers, approximately 775 kilometers typically in and around western Mali, that requires imperative modifications even as other sections are currently under construction. The Trans-Sahelian Highway represents one of the 2 east-to-west links of the project. The course often engages existing highway routes across nations. However, the construction of an optional link between Senegal and Mali is deemed necessary. 7. N'Djamena to Djibouti Highway, 4,219 kilometers. This 4,219-kilometer highway redirects the Trans-Sahelian corridor from Guimo to Djibouti's port on the Indian Ocean, forming an 8,715 kilometers west-east link from Dakar. The N'Djamena-Djibouti Highway, along with the Trans-Sahelian corridor, was designed to replicate original routes envisioned by the French Empire in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. It begins in N'Djamena and travels to Djibouti, passing through Sudan's Darfur region and across northern Ethiopia. It has slightly less than half of its roads paved, with notable sections in deplorable condition. The region between the Sudan and Chad borders has hazardous road sections that have been closed. Also, Ethiopia's highland terrain presents significant challenges for highway constructors and engineers. 8. Dakar to Lagos Highway, 4,010 kilometers. The Trans-West African Coastal Highway connects a number of West African coastal countries, beginning in Mauritania in the north and ending in Nigeria, just above Dakar. The highway arcs around the continent's western extremity, passing through Dakar, Banjul, Bissau, Conakry, Freetown, and Monrovia on its way to Nigeria, passing through coastal capitals such as Abidjan, the economic capital of Ivory Coast, Accra, Lomé, and Cotonou, a large port city on Benin's south coast. According to African Union documents, the route is 4,560 kilometers long with 3,770 kilometers paved, accounting for approximately 83% of the total length. According to the African Development Bank, the highway is 4,010 kilometers long with a 3,260 kilometers tarred link, excluding the 570 kilometers currently at Dakar stretch. With the exception of a few short 4-lane highways in the eastern third of the route, all highways are 2 lanes. African Development Bank reports 32% of the highway to be substandard, with 9% in good condition and 59% in fair condition. 9. Beira to Lobito Highway, 3,523 kilometers. The Beira to Lobito Highway runs from Lobito in Angola to the Trans-African Highway 3, which intersects with the Tripoli to Cape Town Highway. It runs the length of Lusaka. Zambia's capital is reached via Harare. Finally, it ends in Beira, Mozambique, and is mostly completed in the southeastern half, where it uses paved national roads in Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique. However, the western half, which runs through most of Angola and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, is made up of earth tracks or previously paved roads that must be rebuilt. There you have it, new tourist. Those are the 9 ambitious highway networks set to connect and unite the African continent. The Trans-Africa Highway Project is meant to increase trade through built and maintained infrastructure and more harmonious customs procedures. Currently, it is estimated that in Africa, it costs between 50% and 175% more to transport goods from the side of production than anywhere else in the world. A fully developed continent-wide road system would increase trade and movement among Africans and also aid African food security and lower cost. If you enjoyed this video and want more definitive information about trends and megaprojects in Africa, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our future videos.